So I just watched the newest adaptation of a Stephen King book, The Long Walk, and it is really good. But what is this movie about? Well, it's about people going on a long walk. A bunch of teenage boys sign up for this competition where they have to keep walking and walking at a consistent speed, like 3 miles per hour, until only one of them is still standing. And if they fail, they get shot. But the winner gets a large cash prize, and you also get a wish. So yeah, for the premise sounds very standard. This is like we live in a post Squid Game world where you do a bunch of desperate people risking their lives for money type story, but actually it does enough to stand out its own. Also, this came out before most of that stuff. This is like all the way back to the 1970s, so like real early Stephen King. And you know what? I personally think this is his best adaptation since maybe the 90s. Can't say it's the best one ever, like some people are saying. Like again, movies like Shawshank and is a perfect movie in my opinion. It's one of my favorites. Same goes with Shining, but and it's not that good, but it's still a great I and but also it's from a genre I usually don't like, the YA dystopia dramas. I usually don't care for these movies. I guess the first two Hunger Games are alright. He's actually the director of the Hunger Games movies past one, Francis Lawrence. And yeah, this is his best movie by far. Huge upgrade. The last movie of his I saw was Red Sparrow. That was a horrible movie. That movie was like just complete utter garbage. But this is an actual really good movie. So again, he showed me the talent he had during the second Hunger Games and nothing really else. But again, most of these movies just suck. I guess the first movie was also not that bad, but the other two suck. Any movie of the Divergent trilogy sucked. Chaos Walking was the worst movie of the year of 2021. So yeah, I generally try to avoid these movies. But again, we finally got a good version, a good YA movie. The characters are actually interesting and likable, and they're played perfectly by performances. I think the acting is what really holds this movie together. The people who play the kids are all great. Each one has a distinct personality. They're very likable. They're very believable as the characters. There's Ray, the main guy. He's there to try to for reasons we don't learn on the early bond, but we eventually see why. We got his friend Peter. He's he's like more simple, like laid back type of guy. Arthur, sort of religious person. Hank, who's a fast talking kind of person. And each one of them are very likable. They all feel grounded, not too much like an archetype, like some random stereotype character. They have like multifaceted characters. I hope I'm saying that right. Again, as you go on, that all of them is not going to make it. Only one of them is going to survive, and the movie does. And again, you just feel the sadness hits perfectly when one by one these characters start dropping. And honestly, all these characters could have been like some really stereotypes. Like there's a bully character, this guy called Gary. He could have been so easily just a one-dimensional jerk, but then they add humanity to him and show that he's not just a typical stock bully like how many of these other dumb movies like Hunger Games. That's one thing that always pissed me off, that the kids are just like, aha, we're evil or killing murderers. It's not like they willingly participate, not forced into the situation. And these people willingly participate in this competition, and none of them are like that. Because again, it was just so dumb, the Hunger Games. I can't explain to you. That was my biggest issue with the first movie. But again, this movie just has the characters are all so good. But again, that's really the only thing that really makes the movie so good is the characters. But again, I always say characters are the most important part of a movie. But again, everything else can be a bit of a problem. Like the whole premise is just people walking. Yes, some people get shot, and there's a few scenes that are intense, but it does kind of get a little tedious after a while. Walk, talk. Maybe a guy gets shot here and there. Maybe a character gets tired or gets stuck in a situation like they have to use the bathroom. They have to tie their shoelace. They build some tension. But for the most part, it's just walking, talking. and maybe once in a while a person dies. And again, the talks are all well written. They're all perfectly watchable. But it's kind of like like RDR2 when you're like riding from it's like one mission to another. You talk to a guy. It's good. It's a good talk, but it's kind of a little tedious, and you kind of want what's a little more happening after a while. But like RDR happens much rarer, and again, it only happens like so quick. Like it's just short. Like it happens for like a few minutes. Yeah, this movie is a bit of a drag. For this premise, it's nowhere near as bad as when I first heard this idea. Like this movie sounds so boring, but again, it keeps your attention all the way through. Albeit there's a few moments where again you'll feel it waning. Another issue is with the character played by Mark Hamill, the Major. I just hate the voice. That voice is like so freaking ridiculous. I heard some people say like it's an act, try to make himself like seem more like tough in front of the kids and like as intimidation. But even when the guy has a freaking gun at his head, and like if he dropped his voice and like showed it what he's really like, maybe that would work. But again, it's just not the whole movie's going like this very typical, I'm the general way of talking. That's just so ridiculous and over the top. Maybe that's the idea, but man, it really sucks to see that like Mark Hamill just had probably the worst role in the story. And I'm not so upset that he's like a one-dimensional, I'll just kill people without no hesitation or mercy at all, type of story. Again, that's fine, but that voice is what really does it for me. And again, whilst the movie is like, again, it's nothing about the filmmaking is bad. There's nothing about it else that stands out. And in order for me to get like if you want an absolute like 10 out of 10, I think the movie's filmmaking and story has to be like in perfect conjunction, like that like they complement each other, add so much to one another. That's what a 10 out of 10 movie is to me. The movie's filmmaking, it's all perfectly competent. There's no like sloppy mistakes, but there's nothing else that stands out. It's kind of like the opposite of that other movie I reviewed recently, Highest to Lowest, where I think where like the story is just not bad, but it's really the filmmaking and style that really elevates it to like the higher level that I gave it. Like, 'cause again, from like a storytelling standpoint, it's like a 7, maybe an 8, but with Spike Lee's direction, it does amplify it significantly. And I can't say that about this. There's nothing about Francis Lawrence's direction. There's nothing about the way you shoot the scene that can't be done by any other director that stands out. So that's the only reason this movie's not getting a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. It's still a great movie, but in my opinion, it needed a little bit more from a directing department. Otherwise, it would have gotten 10, but because they're not, it's getting a 9. But still, go check it out.